family. It goes through all different aspects of Japanese culture. I've lived in Japan for almost 4 years, I've written a book about Japanese myths, and I've made about 500 videos on Japanese news and Japanese culture. So let's go through the movie and break down all aspects of Japanese culture that it goes through. Number 1, rental jobs. This movie is based around Philip, played by Brendan Fraser, getting a job for a rental agency in Tokyo, where he rents his time out to different people. He will pretend to be whoever the client wants him to be. In some, he's a friend, some he's a husband, and others, he's a fake journalist. These rental jobs do exist in Japan. You can effectively rent people for the day to do odd things. You can rent a family member, a boyfriend, a girlfriend to go to the park with, or just be a friend. These jobs do exist in other countries, but they are more popular in Japan. I remember reading a story about a guy who just stays in silence and hangs out with people, and he was making pretty good money from it, something like 6 figures a year. Do foreign people sign up to these companies? I believe they do, but from what I know about these companies, they are a bit different from how they're seen in the movie. These companies are more like Fiverr, where the person renting themselves out, normally called cast, will set an hourly rate, make a description of themselves, and then as a client you can then email them and ask to hang out. I don't think the companies are so involved in setting everything up, but I've never used one, so I don't know. The company will normally make money by dealing with the payment side of things and then take a percentage from that. I will say I am a little suspicious of these rental things. Doing some research in English, most of the ones that I saw are for Rent a Girlfriend, which is meant to just be for someone to go on a friendly date with. Oh, friend! I wonder how many of these are just a front for another thing, but I've never used one. I don't know, but it's all very suspicious to me. But that's rental jobs for you. Hikikomori. In the movie, there is one guy who Philip goes and gets paid to play video games with. It appears to me that he is a hikikomori. A hikikomori is someone who has withdrawn from society, who basically never leaves the house and will try and stay indoors as much as possible. There is a growing epidemic of these people, not just in Japan, but all over the world. There are students that I've taught who are hikikomoris and who maybe only came to school once or twice a year, or they just wouldn't come to school at all. Or if they did, maybe it would be for a couple of hours a day and then they would leave very early. There are parents all over the world who are having issues with their kids not wanting to go to school, so this is becoming a bit of a worldwide problem. For the most part, they're portrayed on TV and movies as a guy who either lives alone or lives with his parents somewhere locked away in his room. He'll play video games and just live in a dark and messy room, who only eats instant ramen. But there are a big population of female hikikomoris in some age ranges. I think it works out to be about 4 in 10 people who are hikikomoris tend to be women. And in some cases, it can actually be as much as 50-50. One of the problems I did have with the movie was the fact that he actually met with Philip to play games with. Most of these people that I've met are very, very shy. So I would be a little bit surprised that they would pick a foreign guy over a Japanese person to hang out with. But it could be it's easier not to hang out with someone who's Japanese. Now the hikikomori letting someone play video games is actually a giant positive thing. And you kind of saw it in the movie. It was the start to him getting a haircut, cleaning the room, and going outside. Now, I don't know about the place they choose to go outside to, but hey, at least he's outside the house, and that's a good thing. It's a good start, I guess. Maybe we can get him back into normal society. Next, abandoned houses. In the movie, they spent one night inside an abandoned house in the countryside. Now, Japan is covered in abandoned houses. They're all over the place. Why are they abandoned? Well, there is a lot of reasons. Number 1 is depopulation. There aren't enough people to live in them. In fact, a home I recently moved away from will likely become an abandoned house now. It was teachers' accommodation, but the school it was connected to has now closed because of lack of numbers, and the area was very remote. So I can't see anyone else renting or buying that home, even though it was a pretty nice home. I did actually do a house tour of it, and if you want to watch that video, it's actually here. The second reason for abandoned houses are people are moving to large cities for work. Most of the abandoned houses are in the countryside, like in the movie. Here in Tsushima, where I live, they are all over the place. Number 3, they aren't earthquake proof. Any house built before June 1st, 1981 has a lower safety standards of buildings built after that. So when it comes to buying houses, many people won't buy any of these houses that are built before 1981 because they are very worried about their safety. Number 4, they aren't very fashionable. What a lot of people outside of Japan see as a cool old house with old tatami in it, a big bath, many don't think are cool. Me and my girlfriend, who's Japanese, were watching a TV show recently, and I said, when this house came up, wow, that's a really nice house, wouldn't it be nice to live there? And she could not have been less impressed with it. She said the house was old-fashioned, it was trashy, and not very cool. So I thought, okay, that's clearly the Japanese opinion of some of these houses. Next, there is an issue with inheritance tax. From what I understand, the inheritance tax on homes are quite high. And with people having no way to sell them if they receive a house from a loved one that's passed away, they will often reject it because they don't want to pay the tax for it. And number 6, and this just happens all over the place, some of these houses have just fallen into disrepair and it wouldn't make sense to repair them. You'd have to knock them down and rebuild them, and that is very, very expensive, especially in Japan where it costs to throw trash away. I can't imagine how expensive it must be to demolish a house and have to pay to get all that trash away. Oh, that would be so expensive. Oh, good lord. But that's abandoned houses for you. Next, schools in Japan. The whole plot is set around the girl getting into a good junior high school. She has been rejected from one other private high school and the mum thinks it's because she is a single mother. Would this happen nowadays? I don't think so. I would be very surprised, but private schools around the world can be very weird. I was kicked out of a private school in the UK because I was dyslexic and the school didn't want me to affect their statistics. So maybe they wouldn't let the girl in because her dad wasn't there, but again, I would be very, very surprised. It could have more to do with her being half Japanese and half something else. Japan does not have the best record when it comes to racism, but if her grades are good, and in the movie she is great English, so they would likely actually want her to be in the school just because they need someone to pad their English statistics. Private schools and all schools in Japan now also need numbers in classes, especially I would have thought in private schools where the students are the customers. So they would have even more of an incentive to have her in the school if her grades are good. That is probably the one condition. If her grades are bad, then the private school won't want them because they want good statistics. So I doubt that's why she was rejected, but we don't really know. What do you think? I think it could have more to do with the mum being a little bit of a psycho, because who lies to their child about having a dad who isn't really her dad? I mean, that is crazy. She is also probably a little bit too young to be this worried about a junior high school space. If it was high school, then maybe I could agree with it. In Japan, you have free access to education until the age of 15. I believe from April they're also making it free to go to high school, so because of this she would still be able to go to a good school. The public junior high schools are good for the most part from what I've seen. There are issues like being tested too much and working too hard, but I can't see that being any different in a private school. She would get a good education inside of a normal public school. She might have to deal with issues with bullying, but to be honest I think that might be the same in a private school that she got sent to, unless it's an international school. But for junior high school, I think the mum is putting way too much pressure on her, but the mum is not the most sane, as I've said before. She's absolutely, well, crazy. But I do have a slight suspicion about why they chose her to be going into junior high school and not high school, which would more suit the actual Japanese timeline, because the girl then would have to be 15, and I think the story would be slightly different if Brendan Fraser was hanging out with a 15-year-old girl and not a 12-year-old girl. I mean, I'll be honest, I think the story is creepy, letting a 12-year-old girl hang out with a 50-year-old man who doesn't have kids and who's just some weird actor. I mean, if you've read any of the stories about creepy people in Japan, oh baby, I would never let this happen. But it's a movie, so I let that go. Okay, Soapland. So in the movie, you see the main character, Philip, have a sort of relationship with a girl who's something like a Soapland worker. The girl you see is basically a prostitute.
How dare you? She's a nice lady!
I was a little bit disappointed. The movie sort of glamorized their relationship a little bit. The main company I've heard about is called Soapland, but other brands are available. The company basically uses a loophole in Japanese law to do with prostitution. What happens is you pay for a woman to bathe you, which isn't illegal. Now during the bath, you and the woman will magically fall in love and likely sleep together. Now, that's not illegal, that's love. And the time you will pay for is just for the bath, which of course isn't illegal. See where the loophole is here. Now, I've never used one of these things. I think the guys who do's are losers. It's not hard to meet people in any country. Go join a club, go to a bar, get on a dating website. It's not difficult to get a girlfriend or make friends in every country. I just people would stop being a loser and go outside, especially in 2026. That's like 99% will fix most people's problem, is to go outside. Just get off your phone and go outside. But anyway, especially I was annoyed with him going to Soapland because I was like, he lives in Tokyo. There's 30 million people in Tokyo. If I and my friends can find friends, girlfriends and boyfriends, whatever you want, in a tiny little island that's a 5-hour ferry away from the mainland, he doesn't need a Soapland girlfriend. I was going, oh, why did they have to put that in there? But while I'm here about Soapland, I should probably also talk about girls' bars and host clubs. So these are a little bit different from these places. These ones you are effectively going to a bar and paying to talk to someone. You'll pay maybe an entry fee and then the drinks of the person who you are talking to. Now their price of their drinks will be highly inflated to something like $100 or something crazy like that. Girls' bars have girls in them and host clubs have men inside for girls to talk to. And the same rules sort of apply for both of these. They're very similar. And in both places, Soapland and girls' bars, I've read stories of guys being quoted prices before they go in and then at the end getting prices 10 times higher than they were meant to pay.
It's free real estate.
I have to say, I have no sympathies for these guys. Oh no, the prostitute wasn't honest with their pricing. Oh, I thought they would run a reputable business. But you have now been warned, if you go to these places, be careful because likely you will get charged more than you thought you were going to get charged. So, you know, just don't go to these places. Go get a girlfriend. Go speak to some normal people in a bar. Why people go to them, I don't know. I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me, but there we go. Okay, next, temples. Temples everywhere. In the movie, he makes a comment that in Japan there are more temples and also shrines than there are vending machines. And he's probably not wrong. They are all over the place and they are one of the most beautiful things about Japan. You'll often see little shrines in some of the strangest places and even in the strangest towns. I've been hiking into Shima and found some temples and shrines in very odd places in mountains with sake or alcohol sitting on top of them. Now this sake is either for the gods or for people who have recently passed away. Recently, some Australian knob filmed a video of himself drinking these offerings, something the Japanese people were rightly pissed off with, and I think he ran back to Australia before he could face any punishment from it. So if you come to Japan, don't touch them and obviously leave them alone. And also, there are a ton of Japanese myths and folklore of very bad things happening to people who steal these offerings. So maybe this guy will turn into a Jinky Inky when he dies. Who knows? Ooh, let me tell you something. You don't want to be a Jinky Inky. That is bad. But that's my video going through the different Japanese culture seen in Rental Family. Now there are a few more things that I could talk about this movie, such as the police in Japan, drunk salaryman, LGBTQ things, and if you want a part 2, be sure to like and say that you would like a part 2 in the comments, and let me know if there are any other movies that you would like me to review. Subscribe and I shall see you in the next one. Goodbye!